Hello everyone, and welcome to the third edition of the Creative Mixer. The Creative Mixer is a format that was developed by DDMA to share all the things and all the insights around creativity. Today, we're going to focus on the Metaverse. So stay with us if in the next 90 minutes you want to learn and know more about it. If you're wondering, who is this guy talking? Well, I'm Giovanni Simonetti. I'm a creative lead at Google for the Northern Europe. And well, today we are, there is something new. You might have seen the Creative Mixer before, which was only online. And now we are trying this new environment. So we are here with people in flesh and bones, and also with you at home or in the office. Today with me, there's going to be another speaker, Dennis.
Thank you, Giovanni. Hello, everybody. My name is Dennis Hoftijzer. I'm a creative director and owner of an advertising agency, Frappant, and also a member of the committee Creative. And today I'm presenting together with Giovanni. Thank you.
Yes, so there's going to be the two of us presenting this event sponsored by DDMA, which is the Dutch Data-Driven Marketing Association, which counts more than 350 members, organize more than 50 events per year, plus 4 conferences. DDMA covers more than 15 sectors and gives to associate guidance across European laws, and also on how to work with data and ethical dilemmas. We need you, regardless of the fact that you are here with us or at home or in the office. So if you want to give your contribution, join the DDMA and become part of the creative task force that organized this fantastic creative mixer. If you're wondering, how do I do that? Well, you write an email to our hero, Sanne, which is the product manager for the creative task force, and you start the journey together with us. The clicker. So we start with a quote, and the quote is from Arun Maini, which is a YouTube creator, also known as Mr. Who is the Boss. And what he says that the Metaverse isn't an internet you look at through the screen, but an internet you are inside of. And this quote from a creator that talks about tech trends gives us a bit the sense of what we want to share today, because the Metaverse as an environment has been developed to enhance our social experience online. There are different platforms available where you can find this approach to technology, from Decentraland to Sandbox to Roblox. And they differ from the fact that they can be centrally managed by a company or by the community around it. But regardless of that, I mean, the platforms are all in their infancy, but it's already possible to shop, to meet people, to work within the Metaverse. However, we are living a bit of a situation that people lived in the end of the 80s when they saw the first signs of internet. And we know that it will be critical for our future, but we don't know how it's going to look like. We don't know which trends are here to stay. So this is what we want to do. We want to start to give some answers to those questions. We want to understand together Metaverse as a concept, as a way of being online. Is going to stay with us? Yes or no? And as marketeers, how can we approach that? How can we make sure that we promote our product or our service in the right way? And how are we going to do that? Well, thanks to our speakers, we're going to start with a pop quiz that is going to be run by me, where you can win some DDMA gadget, so lucky you if you win. Then we're going to have Anzu talking about the next grand adventure for advertiser, so the Metaverse. two amazing case studies from PepsiCo and from Heineken. And then we're going to close with the academic world, and we're going to ask to the academic world some questions. What should we do? How should we approach the VR, the video games, the metaverse, all that comes around it? So we start with the creative quiz. Be ready for it. Dennis, you cannot win anything since you already know the answers. But people at home or in the studio can win stuff. So there are very simple rules of the game, which are three. There's going to be three questions. Use the chat to answer. So if you're connected to this event, you should have right there a chat. So use that chat and make sure you add also your name so we know how to track you, to know that to get in contact with you if you win. The first correct answer wins. Dennis will be our judge. But you might be wondering, this is an hybrid event. How do people in the room win? Well, you can scan this fantastic QR code, very new technology we invented today just for you. And you will get access to this chat. So, are you ready? Yeah. Yeah, there are people. Yeah. So, what do you win? It was a secret. Now, not anymore. You win a bottle offer from DDMA. So you can have fun with your family, with your friends, or you can have even more fun if you drink it with us. So let's start with the quiz, with the first question. We go into the nitty and gritty. So Yuga Labs, that created a Bored Ape NFT company, sold tokens which represent land in the virtual game it says it is building, and raised around how much money over a weekend? 15 million, $73 million, or $300 million. So how much money did Yuga Lab raise from the sale of virtual land in their metaverse? 50 million, $73 million, or $300 million. A lot of money in any case. Tense moment, the fastest win. 300 million, so they actually sold 55,000 different plots of virtual land for about $6,000 each. Pretty impressive. I don't own any on that, but Dennis, do you have the winner somewhere?
Yes, absolutely. The first bottle winner is Simon van Kleef.
Simon, yeah, very well done. We have a winner here in flesh and bones, so we can give the bottle, but most important, you can drink the bottle with us. Well, if you are at home, you don't have to drink the bottle with us, but if you are here, I'm sorry for you. So we go to the second pop quiz. Then, how many monthly players Roblox counted in December 2021? So, how many monthly players Roblox counted in December 2021? 25 million, 225 millions, or 500 million? So huge. Let's see. Another tense moment to get the answers in. And then the answer is 225 million active users in December 2021. So pretty impressive. Mr. Dennis, you have all the answers.
Yes, absolutely. The winner is Jules van den Hogen. Also in studio.
Oh. Well, people in studio are rocking it, so people online, you better do greater job than what you're already doing by connecting with your pajama. So let's go to the third question. And this is about marketers, so all the marketers in the room and the virtual room can get excited. So how many people around the world have visited Nike Land Metaverse store since it opened 6 months ago? So how many people visited Nike store that opened 6 months ago? 500,000 people, 1 million people, or 7 million people? 500,000, 1 million, 7 million. Another moment of tension. Please, at home, do your job well, win something. 7 million people entered the Nike store in the Central Land in the first 6 months. So, wait. I'm gonna... Dennis, who is the winner?
Yes, I'm curious whether it's someone at studio again, but it's Philip.
Yeah! So people...
I feel so sorry for the people at home.
People at home, you should have done a better job. Next time, take your bus, if you own a bus, or your car, if you own a car, or your bike, and come to see us in person, live. But the good thing is that 3 people won a bottle of wine.
And they all stay here.
Yeah, and they all stay here, so we're going to have a great night together. So well done, winners. A big round of applause.
Thank you, Giovanni. That was an exciting quiz, and so sad for the people at home. They don't win anything, but good for us. We go to the first speaker, which is Natalia from Anzu. Anzu is one of the first agencies specialized in in-game advertising. And we see Natalia here online at the presentation. Natalia, welcome.
Hi, everyone.
The floor is yours.
Great. So, hi, everyone. It's great to be part of the show virtually, but still. I hope that you enjoy it, in the room, and all the people who look at this, via Zoom, as me. Okay, cool. So let's get started. And I think that's the last slide that is displayed. So can you please? Yes, thank you. Great. So thanks for having me today. And I'm Natalia, VP Marketing at Anzu, the world's most advanced in-game advertising platform. Today, we'll talk about a very beautiful and unknown and mysterious thing called the Metaverse. The notion that has been with us for a while, but has just been tested during the COVID days, and now we see it exploding. We see everyone talking about it, and I'm sure that if I ask every one of you in the studio what the Metaverse is, you would probably give me different answers, but most of the answers would be different pieces of the same puzzle called the Metaverse, because the Metaverse is so ambiguous and diverse that we still have to explore and to know and to see how diverse it is. Together with the Metaverse, we are also talking about the upcoming Web 3.0, and we are kind of saying goodbye to flat 2D web that we are used to, and we are diving and entering the era of 3-dimensional images, the 3-dimensional internet that we can be part of, which is more diverse, creative, and so let's embark. The Metaverse. To begin with, I would want to touch upon the core elements that are associated with the Metaverse, at least today. And first of all, talking about the Metaverse, all of us know that it's social. We come there to communicate, to socialize with peers. And as I mentioned, during the coronavirus days, we were forced to do this, and we could do it very well. The parties, birthdays, funerals, weddings, graduation ceremonies, all of it took place in the Metaverse. So we kind of, Metaverse proved that it had its place in our physical and then digital world. Limitless. It is limitless in terms of the number of worlds, the number of users. It has the limitless creative potential. So I already mentioned it's diverse, even more diverse that we can think about. User defined. That's another great thing about the metaverse. The user defines their own world, their own rules, their own vicinities, and all of us can come there and build what we want and then invite our friends to join us. Every day, it has become part of our everyday life, day in, day out. Millions of people spend their time in the metaverse, and you saw this judging by the amount of users that spend time on Roblox and other platforms as well in the quiz that we just did now. Decentralized. There is no one ownership, and it's another beautiful thing about it. The ownership is distributed, and there is another notion connected to decentralized that will come soon. So creative, I already touched upon the limitless creative potential. It unlocks creativity and gives us so many things we can do there across industries, as advertisers, as marketers, as governmental establishments, vast potential that we just need to leverage. Interoperable. So that's another thing connected to decentralized. Basically, we are good to go in Roblox and then switch to Fortnite and then come to Minecraft. We grab all our belongings, our digital citizenship, and we travel from a world to another world, which is amazing in my opinion. Reactive. It's all about the creator first economy, and it's about real time. We act and we react. All of the interactions happen in real time. And the last one is persistent. It's persistent in its existence, and we are there every day, and we just continue building it, and it does not go away. On top of it, there are even more reasons to stay in the metaverse and more reasons for advertisers and marketers across all the industries to come there and explore it, because we can do music, shopping, learning, whatever we are thinking about, theme parks, even health, dating, all of it is possible in the metaverse. Life happens in this metaverse, and I welcome you to try it. When we talk about the metaverse, we think that gaming is a highway into the metaverse and also a huge entry point. And there are a lot of brands and advertisers that have already started to utilize it. And I want us to have a look at the examples and the activations that already took place. And it might help you to answer the question whether you need to be there, whether it's time for you or not yet. So, Electric Daisy Carnival on Roblox. The electronic music and event promoter Insomniac came to Roblox and established the first ever music festival on Roblox, and it was a huge success. And I already mentioned, that music is one of the big parts of the metaverse, and it just big examples, as I said, it's just the new era of music festivals taking place in the metaverse. Marathon in Decentraland. Decentraland is another metaverse, another gaming platform that we refer to as the metaverse. And actually, rapper Fat Joy, together with the Paralympic athletes Blake Leeper, came to Decentraland and set up the first marathon that is called Degree Marathon, to promote diversity and inclusion into the metaverse. And actually, in Decentraland, dozens of miles became the marathon distance, and I think it's amazing. It's one of the most recent activations, by the way. Spotify and their island on Roblox. So Spotify is the first music streaming platform that came into the metaverse. They set up their own island, their own experience, where they enabled users to communicate with artists, to listen to the newest songs, and just have fun. And well, you see in the video on the right that it looks like fun, and it looks real. Pandora is the jewelry brand that's set up another island, this time in Animal Crossing. That's another game that we refer to as the Metaverse. And basically what they did, they wanted to promote their Pandora Me collection, and they set up this island where fans and gamers could try on stuff, take away stuff on top of it. And there is another beautiful thing about the Metaverse. Pandora recreated one of their factories using the solar batteries, showing how the jewelry creation process looks like. And that's amazing, because for me as a Pandora fan, that's the best opportunity to be closer to the brand, to share their values, to touch and feel the brand, and just enjoy it even more. And American Eagle came to Roblox and created their own experience, and it was a custom activation in one of the top 10 experiences on Roblox, Livetopia. So they created, okay, let me show you what they created. Okay, so I think that you got an idea, and you also saw that they did it together with Anzu. So we helped them to execute it, and both the brands, Livetopia and us, were surprised to see how much traction we got and how many new users Livetopia got thanks to this activation, which actually is another proof that gamers and the American Eagle fans probably want to be closer to the brand, and it's a great way for them to try on the new collection, to enjoy activations introduced by the brand, and just to fall in love with the brand even more. I showed you a few examples across verticals for you to understand that it doesn't matter what kind of vertical you are from, the Metaverse is open to everyone, and there are a lot of creative ideas that you can explore. I know that the custom stuff takes a lot of time and finance and resource investment, and I just want to highlight another way to touch base the Metaverse. These are the kind of standard in-game banners and videos, and there are a few examples that we executed with a number of advertisers inside Roblox. So this is a banking ad, this is a campaign by HBO, and this is a campaign by Samsung. I just want to highlight that all of these brands belong to different categories, and they just wanted to try if the Metaverse was the right thing for them, and they just tried it with a kind of standard and the banners that can be created in a few days and do not take half a year in the development. And my idea is that you just need to give it a try via this or that activation, and test it and see how your audience reacts. I want to finalize with a few thought starters for you just to think about the beauty of the moment and us as the industry being able, as an industry, as individuals, and as marketers being able to shape up the metaverse, because this window will not last forever, but we have the luxury to influence and to decide what we want to see in the metaverse, what we don't want to see in the metaverse, in what way. And there are some points that I wanted to bring up and make you think a bit and then decide. So user-generated content. Creator economy is booming in the metaverse and outside the metaverse. If you're the brand who is still afraid of user-generated content, you can't avoid it. Users and gamers do not want to sit back anymore and just watch the activations. They want to be part of them. They want to shape them. They want to influence them. They want to touch, to feel, to have fun, to play at your tennis court, to swim in the pool that you created, or to do stuff together with a brand as Pandora did, for example. And you need to know about it if you're up for the metaverse. And we don't know what and how the advertising will look like in the metaverse. And most chances it won't be the advertising that we are used to. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about advertising, to get to the next stage. And you have a chance to influence, to shape it, and to build it the way you think works for your brand or would work for your brand. Incremental value. I think that we are at the point as marketers to think and to measure omni-channel. So if you want to have one activation and calculate and measure the ROI of this specific activation, it might not be the best approach because it might not bring you the ROI you would want. And I do encourage marketers and advertisers to start thinking about their marketing mix together and see the incremental value and the cumulative ROI, so to say, that the brand awareness campaign or this activation that you would invest a lot of time and money into would bring to your brand sales strategy in the long term. Data and measurements. We need to build metrics on the go. And I think that's, we already mentioned at the beginning, that's the metaverse in its infancy, and advertising and, brand activations, communication within the metaverse is also in its infancy. As every new and emerging media channel, we need to define the metrics. And that's why I encourage you again to be part of it, to start and help to build the data, the measurement tools, what we want to see there, what we don't want to see there. That's just one thing to remember. You might not see the metrics that you're used to seeing in other channels, and it's absolutely fine. We just, as I mentioned, need to work as an industry to define the right metrics for the 3D world, for the metaverse, for the new requirements and the evolving user behaviors and requests. And last but not least, I think that I already mentioned this, the present and the future. It's about being now in the metaverse to build the future of your activations, of your presence within the metaverse, and the way the metaverse would look like, would perform. And this opportunity window would not be open forever. And that's something we need to remember. So I think that I helped you at least a bit to answer a question if it's the right time for you to tap into the metaverse. And my answer would be yes.
Thank you. You already took up all the time in your enthusiasm, but a very good story. You're very enthusiastic about the metaverse. And I have already some questions for you. I will keep it short. I have a question from Judith. She asks, who are the users currently? Are it mainly gamers? What is their profile?
That's a good question. I think that I mentioned that there are many entry points to the metaverse. It's not only gaming. So if you ask Meta about the entry point, they would say it's VR, for example. Yeah, and then we are talking the VR user base. At the moment, probably the most active users are gamers, but there are fashion shows that take place in the metaverse. We already mentioned that there are so many activations like marathons and things like this that allow to invite more and more users, not only gamers. And I just read the Wonderman Thompson's report that came out just yesterday. According to it, 74 people around the world are familiar with the metaverse in 2022. In contrast, only 32 people were familiar with the metaverse in 2021. So to answer your question, I think it's evident that, it's not only about gamers.
All right, clear. One last question, perhaps. Let's see. A question from Tim. Do you have any insights in average marketing investments versus the average reach? You already said the metrics are different. Can you measure how many people, the number of people that actually see or use it in the virtual world?
That's that's a good point, and it really depends on the platform. It really depends on the platform and the metrics that the platform shares. In general, obviously, the game developers or the creators of the metaverses know the number of users and their daily active users, their monthly active users, which give us, a good evidence of how many people saw the activation. So it is, it can be measured. And if we are talking about the activation, we're not talking about 1 day or 2 day activations, right? So in terms of the reach, it's easy to measure it. When it comes to details like geos and age, it really depends on the platform. It is available, again, limited to, to this or that metric, depending on the platform. But the reach is obviously possible to measure.
All right. Thank you. One last short question, and I hope in short answer also because of the time. Who or what makes the rules in the metaverse? You already mentioned something about that.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try to be short. I would say both users and platforms, and I'll explain why. We are talking about sensitive, ages, kids. Okay, and privacy needs to be first. So platforms are very, very strict, and they take it seriously when it comes to privacy and making sure that, be it an advertiser or a creator who is in the metaverse, they need to abide by this rule. So it's the platform, and I think it's the best approach. And obviously, it's influenced by the society, by parents who are happy or not happy. And on the other side, these are the creators, because obviously they also, have a lot of freedom when it comes to certain rules within their own experiences.
All right. So we still don't need the police for that.
Hopefully no.
Thank you very much. Yes, our next speaker is one of the famous brands of Holland, of course, Heineken. We have Otto Esser here. Otto, welcome.
Thanks for having me here today. I'll share in 10 to 15 minutes our story of how we launched our new beer in the Metaverse. I'm the marketing manager in the Netherlands, and I worked on this project with many people in the Netherlands at our global office. We launched this campaign across the whole of Europe, so I'm speaking on behalf of them. And we started the year all together, probably last summer, learning that the beer industry needs rejuvenation, needs new energy. And as the market leader across Europe and also here in the Netherlands, we wanted to lead that with a new product launch. But also the rejuvenation part of the industry. How do we meet with beer the younger audience, so 18 to 25, 18 to 30? That doesn't just come from launching the right kind of beer, but it also comes from having an innovative campaign and having a campaign that really connects with the values of this new audience. And during the process of developing this campaign, we really delved into it. And I think interesting to note a few. One of them is that quality for the younger audience stands at the center of everything they do in life. We've wasted a lot of time together in the last couple of years waiting for everything to open up during the pandemic, and we choose wisely what we spend our time on in life, who we spend our time with, and what kind of products we buy, what we consume. Moreover, I think this new generation has got a real strong compass of a moral compass, and are all about openness, inclusivity, and we notice that. Politicians notice that, brands notice that, and online everything is now connected, everything's transparent. So that was also a big driver, I think, for us in launching this new campaign and creating it. Lastly, it's about experiences. People want to come together, people want to have access to something over Own It. We've heard it a lot, all of us in the industry, but yet, what is your role then as a brand to provide those experiences to them? So, knowing a little bit more about the audience, we started to create our campaign for the launch of our new beer. And our idea of the campaign, our creative idea, was extra fresh for real. It was an extra refreshing product, but for real moments together. And with the campaign, we said, actually, how can we make a little bit of fun of the shiny, of the pretentious side of life, and really encourage people to have real moments together. The shiny and pretentious side of life you also see on Instagram, you see all over, but you also saw it in our beer ads. Often scenarios and images of situations where you thought, yeah, that's not really me, that's not really... So we also poke a little bit of fun of ourselves in this campaign. We launched this new beer after a couple of months of deciding that we wanted to. And we launched it with an innovative campaign. We had 2 phases, and this is where the Metaverse comes in. You can see, and this is kind of what I'm trying to share as one of our learnings, the Metaverse for us wasn't a goal in itself. It played an important role for us in landing our new innovation. Well, the campaign then, the launch, had 2 phases. A tease phase, where we teased and made everybody aware it's coming, and then an actual launch, an IRL launch, in real life launch, where you could actually taste the product. I know you're all asking, why would you launch a new beer in the Metaverse where you can't actually taste it? Well, I think that we decided after working very closely with our creative agency would be a really fun way to poke a little bit of fun at ourselves, at the idea of it's been the talk of the town, the Metaverse. Everybody's talking about it. What can you use it for? Well, everything, especially socializing, but not drinking a beer. We thought that sort of pun, that joke, would be disruptive and would start everybody to talk, would get everybody talking, would get everybody engaging. And that was the whole purpose of the tease phase of our campaign. And yes, we got a lot of conversations, we got a lot of press and PR off the back of it, but also we were really engaging with our audience through the activation that we had in the Metaverse. So what did we do? A couple of pictures here. It's still online, so you can go and visit it. We'll share the link afterwards. But we built a brewery in the Centraland. So we bought a piece of land there and built a fully immersive brewery. You could go into it, walk through it, see the process of how the silver product is made, the ingredients that go into it, the brewing process. Furthermore, there's photo booths. We also had a press conference area, which is where we first announced the launch of our new beer. And at the press conference, we invited media and influencers and people to come and hear the first few words before they would then go off and experience more. Here's another picture of what it looks like inside. Really fun and engaging. When you log in, you create your own avatar and you walk around, and it was super to see the engagement off the back of it. But we also were very aware as a brand, not everybody knows what the Metaverse is, not everybody might actually come to the press conference, not everybody might go. So how do we extrapolate the awareness of this launch? So we supported it with loads of paid social content. We worked very closely with content creators who, through a platform called Twitch, were showing people around in the Metaverse. They were logging in on their behalf, who were posting themselves. And we created a load of filters to start to spread the buzz. of the fact that we have a brewery, launched a new beer, that still you couldn't really taste. So, that was also kind of the question on everybody's mind. Okay, this is quite good, but how am I going to try it now? And that's when phase 2 of our campaign came in. So we did launch at a launch party here in Amsterdam, but actually there was parties all over Europe. Silver for real. What we did is partnered with ID&T, and we partnered with a number of other parties to kind of replicate the environment that we created in the Metaverse in real life. So there were lots of screens here where you could interact with your own avatar, you could go on swings, you could drink like in the Metaverse, like collect your tokens, but then as a surprise at the end, there was also a big party with sort of a digital immersive experience, DJs, where you could also then taste the product. And to this environment, we invited a load of influencers, a load of guests, a load of PR, a load of media, who could write about their experience, but also first and foremost, for the first time, taste Heineken Silver. So again, we did the same thing. We created a lot of content around the launch of it, worked with content creators. Here you can see an example of the unboxing experience, and we had some great media partnerships to help us extrapolate this message. And to capture it in a really creative concept. So here, Vice, we worked with them, and we still are for the rest of the year, because we're in the middle of the campaign actually now. They launched a concept called Fresh Faces, and they interviewed all the people that were available there, the DJs mostly, and asked them questions around the fresh experience they're having together, what makes it real, really trying to bring to life our campaign idea. So what did it deliver then for us? I think from an earned media perspective, an awful lot, and interestingly in different bursts, because we had the different phases. Not only from the mass media, but also from lifestyle and other media, which is something that we're really proud of. Why? Because it says we're creative, we're moving on, we're trying to launch something new in a different way, extra fresh way. And then on the right, you can see some snapshots of content creators, of influencers. They're part of the new generation, and of course picky of of the content they create and what they broadcast. And we're really proud to have been able to create in the 2 phases a real experience that was worth sharing by them. They chose to engage. They chose to take lots of pictures, and I think that's the biggest compliment for us as a brand, because it kind of says, hey, with this story, you're being relevant to me, and we'll share it with others. And here are some numbers. I think, I just wanted to put them up there so you can kind of see, well, what does it deliver for your brand? But I'll pick out a few. For us, having such a big earned media reach, about 500 pieces of content, mostly in print and online, is a lot for a launch campaign. And when we look at all the content itself, how engaging it was, we were beating our own benchmark. So you all know the Heineken campaigns that we ran before. This was new, this was extra engaging, which was our objective. So we beat our own benchmarks there. And the sentiment was positive. Yeah, we get a lot of questions, what is it, etc. But people go and find out, and they really love that. And even media. I think one of our guests to the press conference asked where the parking spot was. So some people didn't really get it, but most people were really positive about the experience. And that was it from me today. I've left some time for questions. Hopefully that was helpful.
Thanks a lot, Otto. I already have some questions. One question from somebody in the audience. Philip, how did you deal with minors in the Metaverse? Did they also see the brewery, or were they blocked out?
Yeah, so I think this was a key consideration for us before deciding which platform to go with. We've mentioned a lot, but first of all, the audience on the Central Land was a little bit older, so we chose to go with them. And then the area we created in the Central Land, we could age gate. Oh. So there is no access to anybody under 18 into the brewery itself. So that's how we avoided that.
Great. Yeah, thank you. What will you do? You talk about a very enthusiastic experience, and you have some big numbers. What would you do different next time?
Yeah, well, I guess the most exciting thing, I'm not going to answer your question exactly. It's exciting to get stuck in and to start learning. It's exciting not just for us internally. You can't imagine the buzz and hype it's created, but mostly exciting for everybody sort of participating and following. So what I would continue to do is just try new things. There's so many things we haven't done. We've just scraped the top of the iceberg. So there's NFTs, there's other ways to engage, there's partnerships we can do with other brands. Lay's going to come next and talk about a cool case study. So I would do exactly what we're doing now, which is go in and learn, with both feet.
And how do you said you built an entire brewery with an experience you can go through. Is it maintained? Do you have to keep it up?
Well, it's there, and it's we're in the middle of the campaign now, so we're still getting a lot of visits, which is really great. But I think that's our challenge now. So what our big learning is, how do you use the metaverse to help your own brand, your own campaign? For us, the brewery is not the goal in itself. So our next campaign, we have to think again, is there use of the brewery or of the space? We can build something else, and that's what we'll do.
All right, thank you. Will you stay there, and will next campaigns also live there? Is a question from Maarten. Actually, you also already answered that.
Yeah, we'll stay there, and if relevant, we'll be there again with our next campaign.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if there is another. You already answered the question about the brand experience while missing the senses like taste. You made an interesting mix with the think for real and the digital experience.
Yeah, so it was, the role of the metaverse was to have a little bit of fun, have that nod to actually launching something you can't touch or taste. What we tried in the beginning was to really showcase the process, the brewing, so people could learn about the product and get excited before they would really taste it.
All right.
So that was how we designed the launch this time.
All right, and actually it's perhaps a technical question, but how does that age gate work? Can you build a stop at the brewery?
Yeah, so it works like a website. So, when you come to the Heineken website, you're asked what's your age, and then you can go in if you're over 18 and not if you're not. So it works the same way at the central and at the brewery. When you sign up, you choose your outfit, your hair, you can make yourself look, many times cooler than in real life. But then you're also asked what's your age, and you're allowed to proceed if you're over 18.
Great. Good to hear. Makes me thirsty already.
Great.
Thank you, Otto.
Thanks a lot for having me.
And see you next time in Decentraland.
Likewise. Yeah.
Bye. Along with a good beer goes a good snack. So we have Rozalinde, Kriens and David Robustelli here. Rozalinde is the digital marketing lead at PepsiCo. And David Robustelli is the creative director of their agency, Capitola.Social. Welcome in studio.
Thanks. So I'm Rozalinde Kriens, digital lead for Lay's. And today I'm here with Capitola, our creative agency, to share more on how Lay's entered the metaverse. And let's go back to last year. Just beginning 2021, just before lockdown of the restaurants, basically in the Benelux, was announced, we partnered with 3 iconic fast food restaurants. You can see them up here. And we have quite a rich history, basically, of driving excitement for new flavor campaigns and partnering with 3 big brands like KFC, Subway, and Pizza Hut, really created an extra rich flavor to our campaign. But could you consider at this stage, at the beginning of a campaign, in the end, how we would then enter the metaverse? I think that's the big question. How do you then successfully introduce new flavors but end up in the metaverse? But before I share more on that, I'd like to take a step back and share more on the breadth of this campaign in a nice short video with you.
Everyone loves eating out with family and friends to create memorable moments together. But then, due to COVID, the world went into lockdown.
All restaurants will close at 9 o'clock.
With restaurants being closed, how could Lay's bring back our favourite flavours and create the excitement of eating out while staying in? Introducing Lay's iconic restaurant flavours. KFC Original Recipe Chicken, Subway Teriyaki, and Pizza Hut Margarita. First, we teased the countdown to launch the new flavours on several media platforms like the Facebook takeover. 55,000 people signed up to be the first to taste, even though we only had 1,000 free giveaways available per country. Then we launched and introduced the world to the iconic restaurant flavours through TV ads, digital media, influencers in-store and outdoor. People wanted to try these iconic new flavours, but lockdown meant they couldn't go out, and sampling in-store was almost impossible. So, we created a special Uber Eats campaign, which was the first launch of a brand in Uber Eats. That allowed us to home deliver the iconic restaurant flavours even in times of COVID. Delivered in the original restaurant packaging, the bags sold out in just 2 days. In store, all 3 flavours sold out in the first week, leading to the reselling of the flavours on eBay. End of summer, it was time to activate our community for the voting phase. Merchandise was used as an extra incentive. Which flavour deserved a permanent place on the shelves?
So the flavors are an instant hit and everybody wanted to get them. And also from a media perspective, looking at it, the digital strategy behind it, it was a great success. And during summer, people could vote actually for their favorite flavor to stay on shelf. And they did so massively, as you can see from these numbers. And it was a close call, but the most favorite flavor, it was the Lay's Subway Teriyaki, with more than 80,000 unique votes. Pretty mind-blowing, I must say. But how do you generate attention for a campaign that's already live for 35 weeks on air, and also for a flavor that's already on shelf for almost a year, right? So that got us thinking, can we enter new worlds? What about a metaverse? So we went where no other crisp brand has ever been before. But before we went to the metaverse, our crisp brand was the first to meet with fashion. So we introduced the Lay's Crispy Puffer Jacket, and this is a jacket made out of real crisps and recycled crisp bags. And it's all about this crazy, unique item, I must say. And it was wearable, it was a physical jacket. And we were the first FMCG to also enter virtual fashion in the Netherlands. And David will share more on what it looked like digitally.
Thanks. Hi, I'm David. I'm creative director at Capitola.Social. And I've worked on the Crispy Puffer campaign together with PepsiCo and Fitzroy. So I think first it's interesting to say something about virtual fashion. I think the most interesting thing about it is basically that you don't have to be a fashion brand to create virtual fashion. And that's also why PepsiCo as an FMCG brand stepped into the virtual fashion. And with that, we could create a full 360 digital campaign and have people really engage with the virtual fashion piece and actually also own it. So how it started was basically with an AR version of the jacket that was also physically made. So we did a translation from the physical item, from the physical fashion piece to a virtual fashion piece. And then we had people being able to play with it, to engage with it in augmented reality as a Snapchat lens. So this was the first step, and it was a virtual try-on for people. And they could actually discover the virtual try-on within Snapchat, obviously, but also on the packaging from Subway. So there was a snap code on the Subway packaging. People could scan it with their Snapchat, and then the jacket would pop up. They could try it on, and then they could actually win limited edition NFTs, which was the next step. So we created 5 limited edition NFTs. So we did like a high poly render of the 3D item, of the jacket. We copied it and we made it like look super nice. But then we thought, okay, but we also want to have, we also want to give it a utility. So not just like a gimmick, which looks very nice, which you can see, you can show to others from your screen or from your phone. But we wanted to add a little bit more. So then we thought, oh wow, why don't we make it a jacket as a wearable in virtual worlds like the Decentraland? First of all, the jacket was also was not only able to win it, but it was also auctioned by Sotheby's, and the proceeds were donated to the Voedsel Bank. Short sidestep. So yes, the step 3 was entering the metaverse, and we choose for Decentraland as a virtual world because we thought that's where people really, like to also express themselves in a way. And virtual fashion is a very interesting way of expressing yourself, not only in real life, but also in the virtual world. So we created a version of the jacket for the Decentraland, and so if you would buy the NFT, or if you would actually win the NFT, you get also the jacket airdropped to your Decentraland profile. And the funny thing is, obviously, when you enter the Decentraland for the first time, you start with dressing up your avatar. So you can choose from some predefined wearables, and when you have something that's unique, you will really stand out in the Decentraland. And I think that's what made this jacket so interesting, and also how it was integrated into the campaign, and how we basically went from a virtual try-on towards an NFT, towards actually being able to own the jacket in the virtual world, and you're also being able to actually resell it within virtual world. So I think that really gave it a utility, and we stayed a little bit away from just a gimmick as a nice video render for an NFT. I think the reach was quite well. We had like over 5 million views in Snapchat, with over 100,000 people actually using the AR lens. And I think the interesting thing here is that when you launch something in Snapchat and when you put paid media behind it, it's not an ad that users are seeing, but it's actually an AR experience at the bottom of your carousel. So when people are scrolling through their augmented reality experience through the lenses, the Lace Perfect jacket would also pop up there, and people could just try it on by hitting the button. And then there were over 20 million earned impressions. So what did we learn?
Yeah, what did we learn? Well, basically, we're in the first stages. So these are very first learnings. And I think we're never finished learning yet, because there's so much yet to come. But our message, I think, looking at the experience we have with Lace, is be there and be unique. As we see that the adaptation of consumers is growing, I think the metaverse is a very important touch point for consumers and brands, or even to say brands and their fans, right? So be there and be unique. Be connected. I think that's the second step I hope that we've shared with you. Think 360 integration, also like Ansu shared. Don't stop just thinking of an introduction within the metaverse, but also build an ecosystem around it and generate exposure around it. I think at this moment, that's a very important key point. The third one, be brave. Be brave and embrace a test and learn mentality, because, well, we don't have all the answers yet. It's not all measurable yet, but it's very important to think about these opportunities that the metaverse is giving at the moment for your brand, and dare to be there and start small with baby steps. And then the last, but certainly not the least, because I think it's the most important, that also David just shared, think of the added value to the user. So what can our fans do with it? And in our case, you could really own the jackets virtually, but also in real life. So that was, I think, very interesting for our fans to step into this campaign and be part of the competition that we had running at that point. So like I said, we're just sharing our first learnings, and it's a pretty exciting world, so we're not finished learning yet. And thanks for having us.
Thank you. I have some questions already. The Martin in the studio, is the code being traded? The actual code?
You mean the jackets, right?
Yeah, the actual jacket.
Not
Yeah,
code,
actual
but code.
The actual or the virtual jacket?
Well, that's a good point. Perhaps
I
both.
think that, I think they mean the virtual jacket. So far, the owners have not resold it yet, so they're holding it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hoping it will rise in. You already said it is a test and learn environment. When do you measure whether it's successful or not? Can you tell we succeeded or not?
I think with this specific campaign, we really stepped into the excitement. And like I shared earlier, we already had quite a rich campaign, right? So how could we generate extra attention? And then I think it's also very important for us as a company to constantly innovate. And this was a space we hadn't experienced yet. So it was a bit of a natural outcome, I think, of the entire product itself, and also the enthusiasm of our partner Subway as well. So
Yeah, you see a lot of big numbers also again in your presentation. Before we started, I talked with David in studio, and we talked about the metaverse, and you talk about virtual worlds.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that?
You know, it's a little bit of a thing, obviously, because the word metaverse is something that exists already over 20 years. And you know, you heard nobody talking about the metaverse 3 years ago, for example, right? And I think you know, Mark Zuckerberg really started the hype of trying to claim the word the metaverse. But I actually saw a talk of him at South by Southwest, and he was also saying, you know, I'm not building the metaverse, you know. And I think a mistake that a lot of people make is that they think that Decentraland is the metaverse, that Roblox is the metaverse, you know, that Sandbox is the metaverse. But we're not there, you know, and there is no metaverse yet. So it's super interesting. I think it's a first step into what it could be. You know, and what I'm saying, it's a very good place to learn as a brand of you know, how can we manage this in the future. But I think there's a very, very, very long way to go before we can actually talk about an existing metaverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And one thing you both talked about is be connected. It has to do with the people to connect with your brand.
Yeah,
but I also see a lot of collaboration. You did a lot of collaboration with other brands, with the agency, so you have to do it together.
Yeah, certainly. It's quite a massive project, I must say. I think we just stepped into it, and it became major, even on top of the already quite successful campaign we had running. And I think it was so exciting that we were the first crisp brand to actually be there. And we could have also thought, well, we're introducing our product, our crisp, right there. But it didn't feel it would add enough excitement and renewed attention. We wanted to be there where our target audience is. Yeah. That's also on Snapchat. That's also with AR. We're always developing a lot of different AR lenses for our audiences. And it all came together, I must say. And
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Let's see if there are more questions, not from the audience right now. What would you do different next time? Perhaps a question for both of you.
Well, from our part, I think because it was, as she said, the campaign, like it was not like planned out that we were, you know, going to have this full 360 strategy. So having more time obviously would have been nice because it was very stressful, and you know, we want to have it all together. There was also a big exposition in MoCo, Amsterdam, where we displayed the NFTs, and where we had some talks about, you know, creating NFTs, and also from the creator community. So I think the more time you have, the better the product in the end. And then, you know, we would also have more time to dive a little bit deeper into the Decentraland, and maybe, you know, also do like a lounge in there. But there was no time for it. So having more time is definitely something.
But why was there the time frame? Well, what was the deadline?
Well, there's a whole thing about creating for the Centerland, and I think also Otto knows about that. I mean, things have to be reviewed. Things have to be reviewed, and you don't even know if it's gonna be accepted. So it's a very exciting space, and you don't specifically know what the outcome is going to be.
All right. So there is a metaverse police actually.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good to
And
know.
if I can tap into that, I think traditional marketing rules, they don't necessarily apply. So next time we would look thoroughly at it, having a more of a long-term vision, perhaps from the brand itself. Whereas now it really, it came naturally from the running campaign and that specific product. So that would our focus area be, I think, from a brand perspective.
Yeah.
We don't know where it's leading up to, right? So.
No. All right. And what would you advise other brands when they want to get started in the metaverse, in the universe?
Well, I would definitely advise them to look for agencies that have experience with those kinds of campaigns. And really start researching, because it's very important, and you don't want to be the last one stepping on the train. I mean, it was like 12 years ago that people thought they didn't need social media, that brands thought they didn't need social media. The brands that tap in first are the brands that are going to win in the end. That's what I think personally.
So doing some research, but get started.
Sure, try.
Be agile, step in. Yeah. Next time we're going to create a crisp cafe, and perhaps Heineken can join.
Are you a new collaboration?
I love collaboration.
Thank you very much.
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, our last but not least speaker we have here is senior researcher and lecturer of the Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences, Miriam Vosmeer. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
We don't have a presentation. We want to do a Q&A together. I have some questions prepared, and you said you have already some questions for me, but I can tell you already, I know what I know now.
I scared you, didn't I?
You did, yeah. First of all, perhaps you can tell something about you.
Tell about me. Well, I'm one of those people. I'm a senior, so I've been around for quite a while. And for instance, one of the things that you don't really want to start at saying is, it sounds a little bit like Second Life, doesn't it? But I won't go into that too deep. I do have had quite some experience with living in online worlds, and not so much from a marketing perspective, but mostly as a user, as just being entertained and being extremely curious. I've been curious about those things for a long time. So yeah, there were the Digitale Stad Amsterdam, the digital city of Amsterdam, which was one of the first platforms that we could get into. Then there was Second Life, of course, and then I'm a researcher. I work at, as you said, the Hogeschool van Amsterdam, for the people who need the translation, because it's not always that clear. At the University of Amsterdam, I first researched video games, and then I moved to the Hogeschool van Amsterdam. And there I started to become interested in virtual reality. We were talking about 2013, and I was looking at ways to merge video and video games. And then all of a sudden, actually he's doing it again. Then Mark Zuckerberg bought Oculus. And then there was this buzz starting to come over, and
Rift.
everyone, everyone asking, so the Oculus Rift, is that like the new place where games and movies are going to get together? So that was what really intrigued me, also from a gaming perspective, but also just from a user perspective, as a storytelling perspective. So VR has been my main point of research in the last 10 years, almost. And then we're talking about VR as we see it here, the VR. So it's not, and I think that's like a really important distinction for everyone to make. The central world that we've been talking about thus far, I think that's still a world on a screen, right? That's a 3D world. While when you're talking about virtual reality, at least in the way that's interpreted now, that's the world that we see when we put on a headset, and then there's no screen between us and the world anymore. Basically, the screen is all around us. And that leads to many different ways of enjoying a story, of enjoying a world, of enjoying games, and I suppose also of enjoying marketing projects. So I think that's important to consider also for the other questions that were, and the other topics that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
That are we talking about something that is on a screen in front of us, where we can, and this is important, still step away, still look at the rest of the world, take even a sip of Coke or beer. Because when you have a headset on, nothing else is possible. You are just in that world. And sipping beer is out of the question as well, because then all of a sudden your whole viewpoint changes. So that's a little bit about my background. I'm a VR researcher and an online worlds explorer.
So actually, you say senior, but and you also are naming some topics you already researched. How old is the metaverse? Can we talk about that? Because is it all new?
I think we've had some answers already a little bit. That the lady on the screen, I forgot her name, I'm sorry. She said that there's many interpretations of the term, and I think that's absolutely true already when we're talking about the distinction that I just made, whether it's a 360 world that's all around you, or whether it's a flat world. And the metaverse you mentioned, you just mentioned it as well. It was named in a book, Snow World, which was, I think, the 60s, the 70s, like a long time ago. And that is something that I think marketeers should be thinking of as well, that much of the ideas that we currently have about the metaverse are mostly inspired by fiction, by science fiction books or science fiction movies. Ready Player One, I don't know if anyone has seen it, is a movie like that. So in that movie, people put on a headset and then they're in this completely wonderful world where all of a sudden everything is possible. And to be honest, that we are not nearly there yet. It will take many moons before we can put on a headset and then have sort of a total freedom of walking around, of interacting with other avatars, maybe even other people. So there's lots of little parts of metaverses, I think, that have existed. And then now all of a sudden the hype has started again with Mark Zuckerberg, who basically announced, so now the metaverse is mine, dips on the metaverse, and the metaverse is Oculus related. And of course he had good reasons to do that, because Oculus is still owned by Facebook, and Facebook still needs a platform to make money with, because they've had some little incidents, hiccups, and I imagine that they're really looking for new ways to interact with their users, and also not just solely sell information about users, because I mean that's still one of their main products. I think they're hoping
that later.
I think they're hoping to also have a possibility to make a metaverse that could maybe just be a little bit like the App Store. Have people make things there and then demand a percentage. I think Facebook is really looking interested at those kinds of possibilities.
All right. What was I saying? Yeah, you said the hype started with Mark Zuckerberg. What has the pandemic done with this hype?
What has the pandemic done? Well, I think that many people have realized that much more is possible online than we'd ever expected. And so many, well, we've all been there. That's the interesting thing, isn't it? We can talk with people all over the world, and if at the moment the conversation falls down, you just ask about how was your pandemic? I had that happen to me a couple of days ago. How was your pandemic? And yeah, pandemic for a lot of people, it was realizing that many things needed to be done online. I've been teaching online. I've been teaching online. Of course, we have Zoom and we have Teams. And at some point, you and your students become like really bored with Zoom and Teams. And So I had been invited for a conference called Virbela, the Virbela world. It's much like the world that we were talking about earlier. Flat screen, still 360, still walking around, having an avatar, dressing up the avatar. And yeah, so I had my students do their presentations in the Virbela world, and it was kind of funny. We all walked in a big room and all as an avatar, and yeah, they stood in front of a big screen. And nice thing was they could also just upload their PowerPoints, and they said it felt much more real than the next Zoom or Teams meeting.
That's interesting. Yeah. So it felt more real than the actual video experience.
Yes, they said they definitely felt as if they were more standing in front of an audience and even getting a little bit nervous, So yeah, for me as a teacher, that was a good sign.
You said before Facebook was, of course, about data collecting. Marketers are about data collecting and using that for their next campaign. What are the opportunities in these virtual worlds to collect data? What's new?
I think there are many things that we need to be aware of, and also, there's two hats that I could put. One is not my hat; that's the marketing hat. The other one is the researcher's hat. I'd like to wear the researcher's hat, but I can imagine a little bit, just for the sake of conversation, to also be wearing a marketing hat. For marketeers, I imagine that all kinds of new possibilities to collect data from your users will be really interesting. For instance, there's a new generation of headsets coming on. I think they're already in use in research labs. That, for instance, you put on a headset like that, and then in the headset are little cameras that can record your eyes, that can record your pupils, that can see whether your pupils are dilating or moving. So immense interesting data to be collected, of course. If someone walks into your online store and you can just check whether they're looking, well, let's take the one taste of Lay's or the other taste of Lay's.
And what are they on drugs?
Yeah, I think, okay. Got me there. So, is that your association? Oh, really?
Pupil size, yeah.
So if people stare longer at one brand than the other, or one color or the other, that's of course interesting information. Another thing is that those are not Oculus Quest. I think if you put on an Oculus Quest, maybe someone has done it before. The first thing you get is you see a little it becomes transparent, so you can see your surroundings, so you can make a boundary. Because, of course, when you're going to start to move around with a headset on, you cannot see anything. So you need to be sure that you made your boundary, that you're not tripling over the couch or not standing in the dog bed. But okay, so that's interesting, useful, important. You don't want to fall into the dog bed. But the thing is that the headset sees your surroundings. So, and if it can be seen, it can also be collected and recorded. So, the new kinds of cookies may be that you have to click on, no, I do not want people to see the way my pupils have behaved, and no, I do not want marketing people or what have you, researchers, to collect the information that I'm giving about my surrounding, because you don't. Especially still, I'm talking about those VR headsets, the Oculus sets, where you need a Facebook account for. So Facebook then will have your name. They will probably have all kinds of information about your address. And then they can also see the inside of your room and where your dog is sitting. So I think that's all kinds of combinations of data that we should be a little bit aware of, that this may be coming. And with like the traditional Facebook, if we can call it like that, we've seen things gone wrong, and we all had the feeling that we were a little bit too late. Things were moving on, and all of a sudden, they were playing tricks with us, and Facebook became, how do you say it? It became a threat for democracy. So my hope is that we will be able to sort of be a little bit in front of that, to take all the experience that we have as societies, as governments, I don't know, and think about how the big companies, the big tech companies, are going to try to, I don't know, use our data or get our money, make it all commercial. Okay, I'm putting on the research hat here again. Make it all commercial. So I think we should be a little bit aware of what might happen, so that the metaverse will also be a place for fun and for entertainment and for socializing, and not just you going in there and being completely aware that you're being monitored all the time.
Talking about fun, we see a lot of new technologies that are where the young ones start and the elderly follow. What can you say about that?
Well, I spoke to my students about the metaverse the other day, and that's a group of students between 20, 25, and it's the minor applied game design. So you just expect people to be, really into this stuff. So I did a presentation on the metaverse, trying out some ideas that I have. And at some point, I asked for feedback as well. What do you think about it? You're the people who are supposed to be using this. And then a girl said, I don't see it happening. I think it's all a bit of a blown up, hypey thing. And also she said, you must be aware there's not all people like that. So yeah, I think we should be aware that not all people between 20 and 24 will be automatically, completely enthusiastic about it. But on the other hand, there may be other groups as well. I heard someone talk about the 40 plus target audience. I mean, okay, so it's my profession, but my mother, she's 74. Just before the lockdown started, we gave her her own headset because she was always borrowing mine. For people of that age, it can be really interested as well.
She was forced in the metaverse.
Well, she tried it and then she stole it. But those are other sides of it that I think may be really interesting. It's not just all for the young people. The metaverse may also be a spot where, I don't know, where we can entertain other audiences that you're not immediately thinking of.
Okay, interesting. What do you think will it look like in 5 years? Because actually we can say it exists already for some time, if you take the definition quite widely. Mm-hmm. But what will it look like in 5 years?
Well, I don't know what it will look like. I can't tell you what it won't look like. I don't think there's going to be a world where everything is connected. I think there's too many big companies who are all very aware of the fact that if we get connected, we might even, need to share our profits. So this whole dream of all these worlds being connected, I'm not sure if that's really what people want, because one of the other fun things about online worlds is that you can be somebody else. You can go to some online game and be a fierce elf or what have you. But, okay, say that I would do that. Then I don't want to be in the same metaverse where my students can see me as an elf, Otherwise I lose my impression. So I don't think that people are actually waiting for this world, which Mark Zuckerberg makes us believe that we want to have, that where we can have one identity and then take it from one place to the other. I think people will want to keep their online identities and maybe on one platform try that out, and on the other platform be a very serious person.
Okay, one final question. We can talk hours about this. I can hear already. Roma van der Leij asks, most case studies we've seen have a connection between the virtual worlds and real life. Do you think at some point we will lose the connection to real life and only need product services in the virtual world?
No, I don't think so at all. And then again, I'm talking about the virtual world where you are wearing a headset, because when you're wearing a headset, there's really not much else you can do than just, be in the headset, because there's nothing else you hear. You cannot even take a sip of a drink, as I just said. And also, I think there's some American institutes that have been looking at how long do people want to have a headset on. I don't think anyone ever wants to wear it for much longer than half an hour. It's like, when you go to a movie theater, okay, very traditional example, movie theater, then you go there you go to see a movie. So you allow the movie theater to block everything off. You're sitting in the dark, you don't see your surroundings anymore, and then you get immersed in a movie for 1.5 hours, and then you go out, and then you're very happy, to see the real world again. And the immersion is wonderful because it makes you enjoy the medium much more. But at the same time, you don't. Now, well, sometimes at a festival, okay, then, you're going hardcore, and then you watch 8 movies in a row. But usually, you just watch one movie, and that's it. And then you want, to go to the bar and have a beer together. So I think that this whole risk of that VR virtual worlds are going to take over, and at some point, no one is going to be in the real world. I don't know. I don't think my dog would appreciate that either.
Do we have a final outtake for us?
Final outtake? Well, go out and have fun, because there's lots of fun stuff. And don't be afraid. I think some of the things that have already... Explore, be open-minded, be open to inclusion and diversity is always the message. And don't let yourself be pulled with the hype too much, because the current hype in the media is that, in a couple of years there's going to be a metaverse where we can do anything and do. Don't believe it. It's going to be fun, but it's not as if we're all of a sudden in a Ready Player One world in 5 years. So don't believe the hype too much,
but explore.
But still have fun. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm back. We are back, and we are at the end of this journey together with those fantastic speakers across the theme of the Metaverse. So first of all, I would like to thank you, those leaders, for sharing us insight and thoughts. And the idea is that this session of the Creative Mixer really helps other industry leaders to navigate this brave new world, and moving the industry, the advertising industry, and beyond forward. So, Dennis.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very interesting, and you can see all the speakers they can take an hour each to talk about it, and to talk about the outtakes, and talk about the successes and also the struggles they already have. But what was your opinion on it?
Well, I think overall the session was very useful, because we started with Anzu, and then we gained an overview of the Metaverse, the topic. We explore different kind of platforms, and also how advertising can live in those platforms. And then the case studies, both PepsiCo and Heineken, gave us some informations that can help us to really get things done. So I think we'll come out of this session with more tools, also feeling more comfortable about working with the Metaverse. And in the end, it was super interesting what Miriam shared about, okay, how can we shape an overview from the ethical standpoint, also from future-looking perspective, how this is going to look like in our life in the future, also in the business. So extremely useful for me. I hope extremely useful for the audience here in the room and at home. Hopefully not with a pyjama, but ready to go out after this session. So, Dennis, we say goodbye to everyone, and see you next fall at the next session of the Creative Mixer with DDMA. Bye.
All right.
Yeah.